Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome biggity back to the channel. My name is Mark Roden. Yours? Anyway guys, today we're back with another good, the bad, and the ugly. This time it's on the requested BMW E46. We're not specifically talking about the M3 here, keep that in mind. We're also not specifically talking about any other models. Also, before we get into it, I want to say that pretty damn soon we are going to be having SmoothStance hats, SmoothStance shirts, and SmoothStance shorts for sale on www.smoothstance.com/shop. We just have to make the website, that's all we have to do, and we have to take a couple pictures, and once we're all done with that, we're all set to go, and we're going to get that website started. So I can't wait. I hope you guys are excited. It's going to be awesome. I'm super excited. Also, stay till the end for a little surprise. Let's get right into it. Alrighty, so the E46 is actually just a chassis code. That's right, baby. Did you know that? Did you know E46 is just a chassis code? Well, it is. It's a chassis code that BMW uses for the 4th generation 3 Series BMW. The car was produced from 1997 to 2006. Keep in mind that even though the car is commonly referred to as just an E46, looking up these cars to buy, you're going to want to look up one of these following names, since these are the actual names of the car. E46 is just a chassis code, and a lot of times when people are putting a car up for sale, you're not allowed to use the chassis code to determine what kind of car it actually is. Anyway, the names of the car are 316i, 318i, 320i, 323i, 325i, 328i, 330i, and M3, with M3 being the most sought after, obviously, and the 330i being a close second. Also, keep in mind that if you're going to get a coupe version of one of these cars, it's usually going to have the C letter before the I. So if you're getting a coupe 330i, it's going to be a 330ci. Also, if it's an all-wheel drive version of them, it's going to have XI instead of just the I. So a 330xi would be the all-wheel drive version of them. For the sake of this video, though, I'm only going to be talking about the 328i, the 330i, and the M3 because those are the most popular ones and the ones that we got in America. Anyways, the car was available as either a 4-door sedan, a 2-door coupe, a 2-door convertible, a 5-door wagon, or a 3-door hatchback, which is just super ugly and was not available in the States anyway, so we don't have to really worry about it. But it actually is called compact, not hatchback, which is a little weird, but that if you're looking for it and you're over states, it's the compact. That's probably why you're not finding it. The car also did get a facelift in 2003 that actually, in my opinion, looks a lot worse. I like the pre-facelift E46s. I think they're a little bit more angry looking and they flow better. I don't know. The car also came with different engines depending on whichever one that you actually want. The 328i comes with a 2.8 liter inline 6 that makes 190 horsepower and 207 foot-pounds of torque. The 330i came with a 3 liter inline 6 making 225 horsepower and 214 foot-pounds of torque. And finally, the M3 came with a 3.2 liter inline 6 that makes 333 horsepower and 262 foot-pounds of torque, which is actually pretty damn good considering this car came out in the damn 90s. Also, the car was available in rear-wheel drive, and some options were available as all-wheel drive as well. The car came in either a 5-speed automatic, a 6-speed automatic, a 5-speed manual, or a 6-speed manual as well. Lots of stuff to take in, but since it is a BMW, but I hope you got all of that. If you don't, it's really not that difficult. Just look up the BMW E46 Wikipedia page, and it explains all of this stuff way, way, way better than I can in a 10-minute video. So if you're really, really in-depth and want to find the perfect E46 for you, that's what you want to do. Now it's time to get into the modifying scene of this car, and to be honest, it's a bit all over the place. The only thing that you don't really see a lot of E46s doing are being at the drag strip, meaning they don't tend to make great straight line speed cars, although they do it sometimes. Every car can be pretty much anything, but typically the E46 is not seen at a drag strip or on a street racing. They're usually seen for drifting or track days. For example, drifting is easily one of the biggest things for the E46. pretty much every E46 that isn't an M3 is used as a drift car. They drift them all the time because they're extremely cheap. Parts are extremely cheap. They have pretty damn good horsepower and the rear wheel drive, so it works. Most of the M3 E46s, however, are used as track cars or are preserved because they're super rare cars nowadays, so they keep them stock and they preserve them and then just flip them a couple years later and sell them for a bunch of money. But if they're actually driving the car, they use it as a track car. The M3 is a great track car. Every M car is a great track car. Show car things for these cars are seen, but not too much, which makes me happy since they are built to be race cars and people love to race them. But in the show scene, they're usually kept pretty clean. They usually do them very, very nice. They don't throw any big wings on them or throw any wide body kits or huge camber. Usually E46s are just slammed to the ground with nice 3-piece wheels on them and nice little touches to it. Like I know they make a duckbill like type deal on the trunk of the E46 that actually looks amazing, and they do stuff like that. But for the most part, they keep it pretty much stock body and just slam it on the ground and make it look really, really clean, and I respect that. But now it's time to get into the good, the bad, and the ugly. And the way this works, if you're new here, is first I go over the good, which are things about the car that are just amazing. Then I go over the bad, which are things about the car that are just you can take it or leave it. It's up to you if you don't like it or not. And finally, I go over the ugly, which are things that are just god-awful and they look like Gary Busey. They're ugly, all right? They're not good at all, okay? Let's start with the good, and I want to start by saying that I actually almost got an E46 instead of my 350Z because of how much of a bargain they are. They are just so good for the price that they are. I truly believe this is the best car that you can get if you're on a budget. I mean that. They are in that BMW gray area where they aren't like new to be expensive, but they're also not old to be expensive either, so they're perfect. You can find an E46, not M3. Do not try looking for an M3 for this price, but you can find an E46 for around $3,000, and it's manual, rear wheel drive. It may be like the sedan and the facelift one, but that's still a great deal. Next is how much aftermarket parts are. They're cheap, just like the car itself. Everything about the car is perfect for those on a budget. If you want to build a car, but you want it to be rear wheel drive, buy an E46. It is a great, dirt cheap first car to purchase. Next is the community is massive. The actual community for the E46 is big, yes, but I'm more talking about like the BMW company as a whole. Besides Subaru, I don't think there's another company out there that has such a cult following behind it. Like every person in the BMW community loves each other just because they have a BMW. It doesn't matter what BMW they have, they love it. And I like that. I think that's pretty damn cool. And I don't know, I just think that the community for it is massive and you can't go wrong with a community like that. Next is they're actually an extremely reliable daily driver as well, especially if you get it in the all-wheel drive version. But even if you don't get it in the all-wheel drive version, if you don't need all-wheel drive in your life, they're damn good, okay? Their engines are extremely reliable, and everybody's all like, oh, BMW, break my wallet, BMWs are unreliable. That's really not true. It's only true if you beat on them. If you take care of your E46, it'll last you a lifetime. And finally, for the good is they will definitely hold their value. They're a 3 Series BMW, and 3 Series BMWs literally always hold their value. So if you're worried about losing money over the years, don't be. They will skyrocket in price, I guarantee it. Just like the E36, just like the E30, it's going to happen with the E46. Next, it's time to get into the bad, which are things that are take it or leave it. First off is they aren't like the newest cars out there, so going to look for one, you're going to want to be careful since they will have been driven, so look out for that. Also, a lot, and I mean a lot, of the people that actually owned the cars that aren't the M3s did not take care of them. They're going to be people's daily drivers with 200,000 miles on them, cigarette ashes in the seats, and it's going to smell like your old grandpa's dirty underwear when you get in it for the first time. You're not going to like it when you first get in that car. It's going to look extremely filthy. So you're going to have to just be a little bit more cautious when actually going to pick up one of these since they're so old and they were used as dailies. Next is there's extremely cheap plastics in it, which happens in older vehicles, so you have to be expecting that. I usually mention this a lot in my videos because I talk a lot about older vehicles. So at this point, you should expect this. But yeah, the plastics in it aren't anything special. They're just gonna crack, they're gonna break. Next is taillights have a problem where they just tend to fail a lot, so be careful about that. Another thing that tends to go a lot on these cars is the weird seals on the windows. This tends to only be a problem to people who drive them a lot. So like, it seems like what's happening is people opening and closing the doors gets wear on the seals, and then it starts to leak into the car, which happens with almost any car, especially if you're talking about like above 200,000 miles. So I don't know why this is like a specific problem for an E46, but I don't know, they mentioned it, so maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's a different like reason why it's happening, and it's just a bad thing in general. But yeah, just keep a lookout for that. Keep a lookout, make sure the ground in the car isn't wet when you're going to pick one up. Next is, even though the car's aftermarket support is cheap, the actual BMW OEM parts are not cheap at all. This is obvious though, since it is a BMW and they are always expensive to fix, but it's just kind of weird because like you can buy aftermarket parts for cheaper than the stock BMW parts. That's weird to me. And finally, for the bad, is they aren't too fast. They have a lot of support for them to make them fast, but they're not fast off the line. The M3s, don't get me wrong, those are extremely quick and they are extremely fun, and I just love them so much, but the base models aren't anything special. And finally, it's time to get into the ugly, which are things that are just bad news bears. And first off, I want to start by saying in the M3, the camshaft tends to fail, which is obviously a massive issue that would need to be addressed immediately. If you go to buy an M3, ask them if they did some camshaft work to it before in the past, and if they didn't, you're going to want to do that when you get the car. That's a very, very big issue. If your camshaft fails, that could blow up your engine, and you don't want that to happen. So just make sure that you address that immediately after buying the car. Next is they have a lot of cooling system problems. Even the non-M3 models just don't like to be cooled down for some reason. It makes no sense. I mean, BMW is weird, we all know that, but the fact that they have cooling system problems, they're a multi-million-dollar company. How are they having cooling system problems in a mass-produced 3 Series car? Just fix the cooling system problems. Obviously, that's probably referring to like radiator problems, and if that's the case, that's a pretty simple fix, and it's something that you're gonna want to replace anyway with like a Mishimoto one, or something that's better. I don't know if Mishimoto is the best for E46s, but you're gonna want to replace that anyway to get some more power out of the car. So just while you're at it, just do it immediately so that it doesn't blow your engine. And finally is the front axle failures on the all-wheel drive models. That's obviously, once again, a huge problem, especially if you're driving in the snow and the axle fails all of a sudden and your all-wheel drive car is now a rear-wheel drive car. That's a big issue. You know, you don't want to be sliding out on a winter area. Usually people buy all-wheel drive cars for the sole purpose of daily driving them during the winter. And so if you're going to be driving it during the winter, you're going to want to address that front axle problem so that you're not sliding into trees and bouncing off of it like it's GTA 5. And so finally, do I think this car is a good choice? Absolutely. I live for the 3 Series BMW, and the E46 is almost too perfect for the price that you have to spend on one. For just about anything, they are a great choice. They are also pretty damn good daily drivers, especially if you get the all-wheel drive one. Just focus on the axle problem and you'll be all set. If you're going for the M3 though, I think there's better options for the price. But then again, you're probably buying it because you love the car so much, so don't let me tell you otherwise. Base model versions though are extremely great choices for anything that you want to do. Everybody loves the E36 and everybody loves the E30, right? And I understand that it's because they look awesome, but the E46 looks awesome too, and it's cheaper than those older models that are actually slower than this newer model. It also has more aftermarket support, has a bigger community for it, has more cars around the world with parts laying around for it. The E46 is a better option than an E36 and an E30 all the way. Now, if the E30 and the E36 were cheaper, then I'd be discussing it differently, but they're not. The E36 and the E30 are actually more expensive than the E46. So why would you not pick an E46? It is the best option out of any BMW that you can get right now if you're looking for like just a beater or something that you don't really, you know, that you're just trying to have fun in. If you're looking for like a show car build and you have a set, you know, car that you want to get, then don't let me stop you, because usually show car people, they have a car that they love and they want that car, so I understand. But if you're just going to be a drifter boy and you don't care what car it is, or if you're just going to be a race car boy and you don't care what car it is, an E46 is an amazing choice, especially if you want a BMW. But that is the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and if you did, and if you actually stayed to the end, thank you. Like, comment, and subscribe. And now here's that special message. It's not a special message. I kind of fooled you guys a little bit. But after this video goes live, immediately after, I'm going to be live on Twitch playing Dark Souls 3 for the first time I've ever played it, and everybody tells me to play it, so I'm playing it. I'm not asking for any money or anything. I actually don't even have all that stuff set up, just because I figured, why would I do that? I just thought it would be entertaining, because like I've never played it before and it's extremely hard. So I'm going to be live streaming it later if you guys want to join. The link is in the description below. Also guys, like I said before, some hats, some shirts, and some shorties are coming soon. So be ready for that. And also let me know any other car you want to see. I literally get all the ideas for the cars in the comment section. So if you want to see a car, comment it down below. If you want to see a different kind of video, comment it down below. And thank you so much for watching. Das Vidania, and have a nice day.